Hello everyone and welcome back to the Tiger Den. I hope you guys are doing well, as always. I had a bit of a long morning. I wanted to sleep in, but I ended up only sleeping in until about 9:30, and I woke up, which as you guys all know is very early for me, which is becoming about my norm, so I didn't sleep in at all. You know, just kind of what happens. I did have to wait to start stream because I was waiting for these, which is a little washi tape for the edges of my collectible cards. That way I can have a nice white border. They came in relatively quick, about noonish, and then I came up here and was like, I could start it like 45 minutes early, I guess. Or I could do the thing where I actually work on the video that I've been meaning to work on for like a month. So I worked on the video, I got the voiceovers done, I just got to edit it and make sure everything lines up because timing wise, it looks like the video is much longer than the audio. So I will have to work on that. Unfortunately, my software was being a pain in the butt, and I had to save after each video move, and then I had to close it, and then I had to open it. Otherwise, it just got rid of all of the videos. It's just a pain in the butt. So that will be getting edited later. But the voiceover part is completed. I did have a frustration where I recorded my audio with the software itself, the video software, and it came out really staticky and just kind of robotic sounding. So I downloaded a audio software that you guys have probably heard of, Audacity, and it still came in staticky and not quite as robot sounding, but very, very staticky. So I kind of had to research what that was going on, and supposedly it's pre-render issues with Shotcut, which is the video software I use. So I had to render the video, play the video after my first audio recording, the little intro bit, hear that the sound was fine, and then record the rest of the audio, put it in, and now I'm down to the video editing. So just a lot going on with that. I still forgot my squirt bottle. I just realized I forgot my squirt bottle. Oh well, who cares? Anyway, the parts of the parts of the collectible cards that we made yesterday are nice and dry. It did take about 3 or 4 hours for them to fully dry. I wouldn't have had time yesterday to actually work on these. We are going to be working on making animals on these. Now the question is, do I want to pre-sketch the animal or do I want to do it freehand? I think I'll do 1 freehand and then 3, how do I want to do this? 3 kind of sketched and maybe 4, maybe 2 freehand. I don't know. This is going to be the cat series. So the cat series, I am probably going to do these 2 freehand, and I'll do sketched down here. I need a reference photo. I should always have a reference photo. All right, so I'm going to do a couple different ways. All right, images. So I'm going to start with a simple side profile picture here. You would think having cats, I'd be able to do this from memory. But you know what? I can picture it. I just can't picture it, if that makes sense. So we're going to start with the ear right about here. Coming off the paper. And then we have the downwards head bit right here. Comes out and then comes at an angle. Then comes at another angle. Comes to another angle. And I know this looks very blocky, just trust me on this. And that becomes the nose. And then we have a little bit of a oof out there into the mouth. And I did get some glitter on this back part. It's not perfectly great, but it did exist. So there's that. The yellow ended up being really, really light. So unfortunately, I did not get a nice background here. But I did get, you know, something. And this one goes here. And this one comes out and around. And there we go. We have the base. Oh, I should probably do the eye. The eye comes up right about here. And I think the darkest sketched one, I'm actually going to do a black cat. I might do black cats on all of these. I haven't decided yet. There's the eye. It does have a little highlight in there, but, you know, that's what exists to exist. Now we're going to sketch the next one. So I'm going to put that one up there. And I got to decide what type of cat I want. Let's do just kind of a basic forward facing. So this one also Has a little bit kind of cut off over here, so we're going to start with this ear. And yes, I could do the whole circles and blocks and basic shapes and then sketch it that way. But that seems like a lot more effort and time than I have right now to make these. Now, I did get all 6 yesterday posted, so if you were interested in buying any of those, they are posted up on Etsy. You can look for my shop specifically with Tiger Rosie Studios, or you can go ahead and follow the link on the Discord that I just posted, like about 40 minutes ago, and get the paintings that way. They are about $2 each. Shipping was kind of hard to fix. It kept trying to put it at $6 for shipping for a card, which I found absolutely insane. But I was able to get it down to $1, which is about how much it costs to get the envelope and the stamp. I'm tempted to move it to free shipping just because I want it to, I want the reviews more than worrying about the shipping cost. So that way, the more reviews I get, the more I am available, or the more I get, sold because people see reviews and that type of stuff. So I may go in and change that to free shipping. If you guys really need me to, or you think that it's not going to work with the shipping I have currently, feel free to let me know, and I will change that shipping to something a little bit more respectable, which is probably just going to be free shipping. This tape does not want to stay down. I may have to retape these, just because of the fact that they're having problems. This has a little niche in it, so let's add that little niche. This side has a little niche too. There we go. Okay. So there's 2 sketched, and now I gotta do 1 more. I'm probably gonna follow my cat color themes, the orange, the calico, and the black. Oh, this is adorable. I'm going with this cat tongue one. So I'm probably going to go with those. I will eventually add more cat color options. I just need to see what is popular, what sells, and that type of stuff. That ear is a little bit longer and more straight out than this one. So I have no eraser on this, but it's fine. I do have erasers here that I could use, but that would require me to use my brain. Okay, so there's that. And then it has kind of like a very plushy looking mouth. It's very round. Kind of bring this one down and around. Big focus of this piece is that tongue, so I want to make sure I sketch that tongue first. And then it goes to the nose right here. A little bit of line right there. And then big, gorgeous eyes. These eyes look almost black, so I may just do black pupils, or I just copy what my cat's eye colors is. I don't know yet. I'm also going to need references from my own cats, because I don't know what eye colors they have. I should, but I don't. Now, I do a lot of chicken scratch sketching. I apologize for that. It's the easiest way for me to sketch. There, comes down to here. I might be able to do the full body minus the tail. The tail isn't visible here. And this one has a little tiny bean leg. This side also has a little tiny bean leg. Down a little bit more. Okay, there's no freaking eraser. I need an eraser. Like an actual eraser. There we go. Now I got that little tiny bean leg. So that one is really cute. I like that one. I think that one will turn out really, really nice. So now we need to lighten the sketches. That way they're not as prominent. And I have all the emails, because why not have all the emails while I'm trying to stream? So now we're just going to lightly, with this eraser, I don't have my kneaded eraser, so that's why we're going light with this one. You're just going to lightly go over it, so that way all the graphite disappears, and it won't mix with your paint, but you can still see the sketch underneath, so you know kind of where the paint needs to be put. I'm thinking for the tongue one, I'm going to do my cat Oreo. For the side profile, I'm probably going to do Eva. And for the one directly looking on, I think I'm going to do Pickles, but not quite Pickles, because he does have a crinkled ear. So I'm not going to do that crinkled ear. It's going to be Pickles pre-ear crinkling. So I think that is good enough to get out those lines. There are a few places where the lines have a little bit thicker, but that's okay. I can still see the sketch while the rest of it's kind of almost invisible. I may have over erased, but it's fine. So we're going to do that again here. Now for the freehand cats, I am going to go ahead and I'm going to kind of just do the backs of the cat like you guys have seen me do. I may do a galaxy cat with one of them, which would be really, really fun. Oops, as I pull that tape completely off. I may have to replace some of this tape. It is just falling off. I didn't even heat it or anything. It just wants to come off. I don't know how good the washi tape was. It was kind of older, but at the same time, it shouldn't have degraded like this over time. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to focus with these 3 sketched portraits first, and then I will go do those, just because I want to make sure the sketched has a little bit more consistency, if you will. So I'm going to start with, do I want to start with the eyes or do I want to start with the body? I think I'm going to start with the body. It is a very small area, so I'm going to go ahead and take my small round brush and dip it in my water, make sure it is not too stiff. And then I do need to activate these. So I'm going to activate my gray ever so slightly, my black, I'm going to do yellow, and kind of golden yellow for Eva's eyes. I need to activate the orange for Pickles, and then I'm going to activate the white, even though you can't see it, and the brown. And then she also has gray and black. So, well, actually, I'll make it a darker brown for this one. That way she has a little bit more contrast than the other. So this is, no, that one. This is the colors that I activated right here. So I activated this brown, this brown, gray, black. I guess that's gray, that's black, whatever. Gray, black. I did the white, the orange, the yellow oranges, and I think I need a green for Oreo's eyes, and we're gonna go ahead and make Pickles blue, because whatever. Now I could do their eyes down here actually and have them iridescent. So let's do that. We're gonna add the yellow, kind of darker golden yellow, and green. Okay, that is how we're going to do that, and that is how it's going to work. Now the gray should be dry enough already. We're going to go ahead and take just a little bit of it. We're going to mix it with some water just to lighten it up a touch, because I want to have, while she is a black cat, I want to have those highlights show. So we're going to start with the gray. And her nose is gray, her body is gray, pretty much everything is freaking gray and black. So it's going to be kind of hard to distinguish where she exists and where she doesn't. The only thing I'm not going to paint is the eyes. And even then, I may have to take, well, later, I will have to take and add some Dr. Martin's pH white, because I did have that background in there, and I don't want the white to have that yellow tinge, which, I don't know, maybe I'll leave it. We'll see. We'll see how it looks when we get to that point. I'm going to add a little bit more water here. I had to make a little bit more of it. Kind kind of mixing so that way it doesn't have those harsh lines around. Go around the eye. Kind of cleaning up these layers. So the problem with watercolors, if it dries too quickly, it will start layering over itself. And then you can see your brush strokes and where you painted and where you didn't. So you got to be relatively fast with paint when you're trying to get it all on one layer. So there is the gray, and this is only going to be seen where the highlights are. So next I'm going to go with a slightly darker gray. And we're going to kind of shadow it in and slowly blend it together. So the nose is nice and dark. We're going to kind of blend this down here. We're going to have a little bit of highlight on here, going up the head. And I do realize it is kind of blendy right now. That's okay. I don't mind it being blendy for the darks, but I will have to wait for it to fully dry for me to do the black portion. And I will go over the black with a fine liner just to bring out those details again for the black cat, which will help it significantly. So we're just kind of taking that darker color and building it up. I may even water down the black just a touch to create even more shadow differences. So right now we're going to let Eva dry, if you will. And next we are going to work on, this one looks like it's Pickles and this one looks like it's Oreo. Okay. So Pickles is a nice light orange cat. We're going to start with this lighter orange yellow. And you know what? I'm actually going to make it more of an orange yellow than just a yellow. So I'm going to take a touch of orange here. We're just going to lighten that up to that nice orange. A little bit of water. And then we're just going to go in and start painting. This is a very nice orange for him. I did mix a very good coloration here. Now his nose is pink, so we're going to avoid painting his nose and his eyes, unlike with Eva, whose nose is black. I'm slowly adding that color in here. I don't want to add it too quick because I don't want it to be too thick right off the bat. Now the smart thing to do with the orange cat to get those nice dark points, or the blending of that striping, is to go ahead while it's still wet and do the striping itself. I may do that with an orange just to create a little bit of a background, but I will go in when it's dry and add more of that orange, or even a brown really, once I get to that point. This has the double loops. And again, I will be going over this with a fine liner pen as well, just to make it have a little bit more oomph to it. And as you can see, my brush strokes are a little obvious. That's just because it's drying as I'm painting here. So I'm trying to be quick, but I'm not being quick enough, if you will. So I'm trying to go in with another layer of that nice light yellow orange to try and get that nice and clean of brush strokes. Again, that background is really light, so it's really hard to see. But, you know, what can I do? I almost dipped that into every color but the right one. And now with the water, very, very wet orange, I'm going to go in and just kind of spread this orange as kind of like a signifier of where those darker lines are going to come in. Again, I want it to be nice and wet, so that way it kind of bleeds out. We want to keep it nice and light. And right there, I guess. And then this will be kind of like that front area. Now, as you can see, it is bleed really well up here. So I'm going to try and separate it out with a little bit of lifting, and then come in with that pretty much non-existent now orange that I made. Just kind of add it in between here. Then do a touch of that orange again. This time a little bit thicker, so if it bleeds, it doesn't bleed too far. Bring a little bit more over here. There, that should be good. I don't think he has any major orange on his ears, but we're going to go ahead and use it for shadowing. And that's just going to bring out that level of separation in the pieces, especially since we are going ahead and we are doing the dark brown for the stripes. I'm just trying to shadow here very lightly. From over here, just kind of, like I said, very lightly bring that shadow in. Kind of pull up some of that water so it doesn't become all awkward looking. Okay, so that is Pickles. We're going to wait for him to dry before we go on to the next layer. So next is Oreo. Now this one's going to be a little bit more tricky because Oreo is wet, or white, not wet, is white with some browns and like some not really oranges, but like a tanny color, which I already wet. So I got to first do her in all white, and then I have to, and I'm going to do a wet on wet process here for this cat. I have to do her all in white, and then I have to go in with the colors and just kind of drip them in here and there, which I could do just by doing the white right now. But I want to have that gradation effect, which doesn't look super great without two colors to gradiate from. Which, yes, wetting it is picking up that yellow again that is in the background. Now, Oreo, I can't remember if her paws have color. We're going to give it color just because. Okay, I'm going to make sure this is nice and wet so we get a nice even flow. I am going to have to go back in on the eyes because I accidentally just put some water over the eye. And I will have to go over with the tongue. Her nose is also pink, so we are going to avoid painting the nose as best we can, but we'll see how it goes. So I'm mixing up my white. Again, white isn't very useful in watercolor just because it doesn't show much, but it is good for helping with the gradation of colors. It does give a little bit, not much. It's much to be desired, if you will. Okay, so both of her ears are a nice dark brown. So we're going to go with the dark brown. And then we're going to kind of drop in the dark brown. Hello, Sheriff. Congrats on your first. I shall hydrate with water. I do have to work quickly right now because I am working on a wet and wet technique. We're just going to nice and calmly add all that white, which again, white does not do much. So now we're going to go in with that kind of reddish brown, and we're just going to drop it in here and there. Then kind of paint over it to create more of a kind of effect. Now it's not doing much blending here. So we're going to kind of drop some water in to blend it. We're going to take and add some more water to this. It has a lot of water already, so it should be blending okay. There it goes. Now it's starting to bloom the way I want it to. Okay. And then she has a little bit, oops. She has a little bit like on the side here. She's kind of spotty, if you will. And then her feet have a little bit. She is also very dark on the feet, so we are going to go in again with that dark brown and add some depth to this lighter brown. I keep wanting to wash my brush in the wrong one. So now we're going to go in with that darker brown. We're going to try and not have too much of it, and we're going to dip it into the ears, which this is looking black. Oh, that might be the black. I did dip in the black. My bad. Can I pull that up real quick? Yeah, I pulled it up. It's not fantastic, but, you know, it's lighter at least. Lift technique, go! Okay. Now we re-wet that ear. And this time we're going to go in with the dark brown, not the black. Which had already dried, or I forgot to activate because I thought I activated it with the black. So now we're going in with that nice dark brown here. And once again, we have that white in there, which is going to kind of blend it and mix it up. And then I'm going to go ahead and add some dark spots here and there. This is supposed to be a calico cat. I do see that in the front there where it's starting to blend a little bit into the face. That is not the ideal situation, but that is the situation I'm currently running into. There we go. Get that darker color here at the feet. Get it in here. Keep trying to wash in the wrong color. So we're just going to pick up some of this brown in the middle and then go back with that white. We're going to drop it in to pull that brown back. Drop it over here. Just kind of dropping around that white to keep the paint from going too far in the wrong directions. Okay. So Oreo will definitely need outlined because of the black going, or because of the white going on. All right, Eva looks dry enough, so let's go back to her. This is where we got to start layering on that black to really build up. So we're going to take that dark gray, make it as dark as possible, and just make quite a bit of it here. And the dark gray is going to be pretty much wherever the shadows are completely. So we're just going to slowly build that up to a darker and darker color. This one, we're going to leave a little bit of shine on the top with that slightly darker gray. That gray is getting a little too light up top. We got a nice line there to signify the ear. I'm going back and forth on debating where I want the highlights and the shadows. So right here, I'm going to give a little bit of a highlight because cheek. However, around the eye, I'm going to do nice and dark, aside from that little light just under the eye. And once this dries, we'll do the black layer, which I think will be the last layer we have to do. I gotta make more of that. Nice and dark, a little wet. And this is just a matter of building up your color to make it darker and darker so you get a more black feel to it. My tape is coming up again. I may end up with not a nice clean line here. Lift up this one right here for that cheek. I'll lift a little bit right here for that muzzle. A little bit here for the chin. There. So that's starting to look like a nice cat. So I'm going to leave the nose area completely gray. I'm not going to mix any more of that in there. I'm going to try and blend this a little bit right here. There we go. So The nose is going to stay gray because it's not a full black on the nose. You still see it. And then we're going to do the final black layer. We're going to let that dry before we go to the final black layer. So we're going to work on Pickles, where we have that nice dark brown, which isn't super brown. It has a little bit of yellow ochre to it. So we're going to pick up this yellow ochre, clean off the brush, take a little bit of this brown, a little bit more, and we're just going to kind of mix these together until I get the nice brown that I'm looking for. I think one more brown. There we go. So this is a very nice brown. Let's go ahead and swatch it to make sure it is the color I'm looking for. And it is. Perfect, perfect, perfect. So we're going to take this and we're just going to carefully do the stripes on the orange cat that you find all the time. Over here. And I'm doing this little side motion on it because I'm trying to simulate fur. I'm trying to keep it to where it's just the point of the brush because it's not super thick. You don't want to overdo it. Come down here and do it here. Now I could go through, and I think I will, with that orange again, and just kind of add in flicks of hair here and there, just to give the simulation that this is a fuzzy cat. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to go in with that orange again, like I said. I'm going to go ahead and clean up the palette because it's getting some other colors in it. I want this to be a nice tiny stroke, so I'm just going to kind of do the tip as best I can. That just gives a little bit more to the feel of it being a cat that is fuzzy. There we go. That's looking pretty good. Now I am going to take some of that brown and put it into that ear as well, just to add some more depth. There we go. And it is actually dry enough, and I didn't touch too much else, that I can go in with that pale pink to make the nose. So I do have to kind of swish it around because I didn't activate the pink, but I can go in with it and make that cute little nose on the kitty. And we will go in with the fine liner to add the details to the nose. Oreo is still very, very wet. We're going to leave her alone for a hot minute. Pickles is dry enough. I could probably go after the eyeballs, but I think I want to go back after Eva here, who looks dry enough to do the next layer. And again, this layer is going to be the black. I am going to go ahead and lighten it just a touch with the gray and some water, just because I don't want it to be too heavy. When we do this. So we're going to start with the nose, come around here. And that black is still not heavy enough, actually. So I may have to add some more black here. There we go. That's a little bit blacker. That's more of what I'm looking for. Now, because she is all black, I won't be able to add the little lines of hair on her. Unless I was doing acrylic, then I could go through and, you know, lighten up again and add the acrylic that way for the gray strokes of hair. But that's okay. I don't necessarily need that stroke of hair. So for this one, we're going to go right over the top of that cheek for that darkness and leave a little bit of a gap for that darker gray underneath that cheek. Leave a little bit of that gray under the eye. And again, we're just making it nice and black here to make that nice, pretty coloration we got going on. The suggestion of a lighter cat or a darker cat. Up here, it feels a little bit more rounded. We're just layering over the dark black, just to give it a little bit more. Now what I am going to do as well is I know I'm going to fine line this, but I think I'm going to take a touch of the black with just my brush and bring up and kind of outline the kitty. Outline little Eva here. So that way they know that this is a black cat all the way around. I do need to go in with the blackest of black once it's dry, so that way it doesn't bleed around. And add the fine details like the mouth and things like that. And then I'll take the P.H. Martin's white for the whiskers. Now, fun fact, cats usually are drawn with just whiskers on their cheeks, but they actually have some above their eyes as well. Oreo is still very wet. Might take some of this up just so I can help her dry a little faster. Okay, I don't think I can do that any faster. Pickles, I think it's good enough to go after the eyes. I can't remember what eye he has. I'm going to make it green, because why the freak not? I do have my P.H. Martins, so I'm going to do the P.H. Martins first, let that dry, and then go after it with my watercolor over top. Because I don't want to have to fight with getting that P.H. Martins in the eyeball with the pupil already painted. So we're just going to P.H. Martin this, make it nice and light. One eye is definitely bigger than the other, just because I can't get the right shape. I'm going to make this one a little bigger. There we go. Okay. Definitely a big eye. So now we got to wait for all of them to dry. So while they're drying, I'm going to go ahead and do the freehand cats. So the freehand cats are going to be just the backs, and you guys have seen me do it before, where it's just I make like a little bean shape or a snowman shape and then fill it in with color. So I'm going to start with this one, and I think I'm going to make an all black. Well, I'll make an orange cat. Because all black is easy to do. And then the other one, I think I'm going to do the galaxy theme that I've done before. That seems to be really popular and really cool looking. Everyone seems to love it, so you know. Okay, that's nice and wet. We're going to go in with that orange. We're just going to drop in the ear, drop it in there, drop in the other ear. Just kind of drop some of this orange around randomly. So this is more of a calico, I guess. I'll do a lighter orange, like the orange we made earlier, for the gaps that we're not filling in. So we're going to take that golden yellow again. We're going to put it off to the side here. We want a lot of it. And then we're going to come in. I'm going to clean the brush. That way I don't put the golden yellow in the orange. And we're going to take some of that orange, just a little bit, mix it in, maybe a little bit more. We're going to take that color and drop it in everywhere else. So I might have gone a little too heavy on the orange. That's fine. I may just have to go in with that golden yellow and drop it in as well. Okay. So let's go in with that golden yellow, because it did did get lost here. There. That kind of creates a little bit more oomph in coloration on this orange cat. So now I'm going to go ahead and do the other freehand orange cat. And again, with this one, we're going to do the galaxy, which is always fun to do. I don't have my normal palette for doing the galaxy, so we'll just have to see how it turns out. Get this nice and wet, because the galaxy, it needs to be very, very wet in the process. So now I'm going to start with that. Oops, I'm going to start with that hot pink. Activate it a little bit. Activate the medium or darker pink. Activate the purple, both deep and light. And the blue should already be activated, but I'm going to drip a little more water into it. So I'm going to start with the blue because it should already be activated, like I said. We're just going to drop it in here and there. Just kind of give that nice little galaxy feel. Drop in a little bit there. Okay. And now we're going to go in with that pinkest pink here. I'm hoping it's active enough that I can get this. Yeah, I got some. Put this one as the ear. Okay, and then we'll drop some down here. Drop some here. And this is literally nothing more than just taking your colors and dropping them randomly. And then going over it with like a gray or a purple, a dark purple, to complete the darker feel of the night sky. I'm probably going to go in with the darker purple to do the night sky here. We got that deeper pink. Then, of course, we have to splatter it. We have to splatter it with the white to give that a nice star look. There's the words I'm looking for. I'm bad at words, apparently. Very bad. Kind of go on the tip up here for this purple. And again, this is not the normal palette I work with to do the galaxy look, so it's not perfect. But you know what? It's a thing. It's a thing that exists. And that's all that matters. Now I may go ahead and drop some of the darker purple in here as well, just to kind of get a little bit more coloration differences. Drop a little bit of blue right over here. Oh, that's too much blue. Drop a little bit of blue right there. So let's go in with just a touch of the dark purple, just a little bit here and there. And we will, again, go over all of this with that dark purple once it's fully dry to give that layering effect. I may actually do the splatter, now I think about it, before going in with the this dark purple layer, and that way I can get a little bit of a almost a layer of stars as well. Come back in with that pinkest pink. I am really enjoying this pinkest pink. I know it's not normal to make it into watercolor. Most people use it for acrylic, but it is really, really fun to use on watercolor. I heard my phone go off. Was it important? It might be important to have a message. It's a text message. Okay, that was an important text message, so I'm glad I paused to do that. And now we're going to go in with this cat. That's my orange cat, and we're going to do a little bit of the stripy stripes with that brown I made earlier, which I need to reactivate apparently. So we're just going to drop in some stripes here. Let them kind of blend out. And then we're just going to add a little bit down here on the tail. And then some coming down and around on the top of the head. Now, as you can see, these are still kind of blending out. That has to do with the fact that it is still very wet, which is why if you want to do details like this, you don't really do it while it's still wet. Okay, Eva is almost fully dry. Pickles is fully dry. So let's go ahead and work on these two. Oreo is still very wet right there. Her nose is the wettest. So we're going to start with Eva. We're going to go with that black even more. Almost pitch kind of thick black. It's like it's not quite a milk consistency. It's almost like a butter consistency. We're just going to kind of do one more shadow here. The ears are going to be nice and dark black. And we're just going to continuously add that layer on there. I know it's getting a bit extreme with the dark, but I think this will be the last layer because I'm getting that nice deep black now, while still having those nice shadows. So on the pan, really, I don't need this well because it's almost like consistency of the straight black in the pan. But you know I'm going to end up keeping this well. I'm adding a little bit of a highlight there where the neck is. It's not much, but it's something. I may have to lift it a little bit. Okay. So that has created a nice dark existence. I'm going to lift right here just a touch to create that neck. I'm going to lift this up a little bit. Oop. So I darken it. We're going to blend that out. We're going to make this a little darker. Lighten that. There we go. Okay. That should be a little better. It's not great, but we're getting there. So we're going to let that black dry, and then we're going to go after the eyes and whiskers, because her nose is gray. So we just need to finish the eyes and the whiskers, and she'll be done. Pickles is the green baby. So we're actually going to go in with some iridescent green. And I probably should use a smaller brush for this, now I think about it. So we're going to go in with the rigger brush. If I can pick it up. The rigger brush 30. Nice and small and thin. Mix it up. Now again, because rigger brushes can't hold a lot of paint, we are going to be dipping a lot back and forth. So we're just going to create that circle here. There we go. And then we're going to create one other circle. And when I go to line it, it will clean up some of these rough edges here on the eyeballs. Now I am going to fine line it before doing the Dr. Martens pH white, just because the whiskers will come over those lines, and I want them to actually be able to exist over those lines. All right, we're going to go after Oreo now. She's not super dry, but I think she'll be dry enough that we can work on her. So I need a little bit of very, very, very light gray. So I'm just going to take this drop up here on my palette. I'm just going to add a ton of water to it. Make it as light as possible. Okay. And then we're just going to go in and just kind of create little marks of fur. Just to suggest that she is fuzzy. So we're going to bring it down over here. And I am taking that gray up into that brown a little bit. Again, that's just to give the suggestion of the fur. The gray isn't really showing up in the brown, but that's okay. Just kind of keep going here. I think I might have made it a little too light, but it's fine. And then I need to do another layer of that dark brown. Oh, not the black. I keep dipping in the black when I think I'm at the dark brown. I need another layer of that dark brown just in the ears. Just a little bit on the sides. Because the ear is facing backward. So you don't really see much of that inner ear. Now, right where the tongue would be, the mouth is still... No, actually the tongue's dry. It's the nose that's wet. So let's go ahead and do the tongue. I think I'm going to start with the pale pink, like the nose. And then I'll drop in a little bit of the pinkest pink when it's wet, while it's still wet. And then we will go ahead and use the darkest pink here. I know I'm like over on top of these. I'm just trying to see. We're going to go ahead and drop that pinkest pink on the tongue while it's still very wet. I feel like this tongue is very, very cute. Now, I want that pinkest pink on the bottom of the tongue. The easiest way to have done that would have been to do the tongue twice, like just do the where it's coming from the front and then add the back where it's still wet and do it that way. But that would have been logical for me. So we're doing this the hard way. Just going to drop in that pinkest pink. We're going to blend it out a little bit. That is a bit more pink than I would like. There we go. Now we got the back of the tongue. It is super cute. So the Galaxy and the orange cat are still very wet. Pickles is almost done. I just need to do the eyelids, which it looks like he's almost dry enough to do. Eva's still very wet, and obviously Oreo that we just worked with is pretty wet as well. I'm going to blend some of that darker in there. I'm going to do it again and just kind of add some of that darker color here and there. Because Oreo does have, and the reason, I mean, I would have called her salt and pepper, honestly. But that's me from my childhood making a joke. But she does have a lot of like dark areas on her. I think I need a little bit more fluid. Kind of come over here, do the feet, going up. There. And then I'm going to wet that just a touch. Just kind of blend it out. Not make it as stark. Get some more water. Now the rigger brushes, because they don't hold as much paint, they also don't hold as much water. So when you're blending out a little bit, it can be hard to really get it to fully blend just because of how little water holds on that brush. There we go. That blended it out nicely and gave a little bit more depth to that coloration. Oh, guys, I can't believe it's already 2 o'clock. I've been streaming for an hour. I plan on going to the gym today, so I don't know how long I'm going to stream. Yeah. The Galaxy cat looks like it's almost fully dry. Almost. I see a big wet spot here on the tail, though. Let's just soak up some of this water. See if I can bring it out a little bit. Help it dry a little faster. Again, the rigger brush does not hold much water, so it can be very challenging. Now, I could wait for these to dry. Actually, Pickles is ready for his lining, so I will wait for those to dry. Now, I could take the fine liner brush and do the eye portions, but I think I'm going to try and do it with paint, which may be a mistake. We'll see. So I'm just going to do, these were kind of rounded, so we're going to do a little bit of like a round oval. As my brush splits already. So we're just going to do kind of like a round oval in here. And this is not even close to wet enough. It's not painting at all, it's just dry brushing. Okay, there we go. Then same with this one, we're doing kind of an oval shape. Now I could also do the fine lining with the rigger brush. I don't think that one I'm going to do, just because I want to have full control and paint can wiggle and move and have problems whenever it wants. So we're going to give that black just a few seconds to dry. Eva's almost dry, which is good. It looks like around her eyes is dry enough that I can probably do the PH Martins. Oreo is also not dry enough to do the PH Martins. So I'm going to go ahead and get out my fine liner pen. We are going to work on Les Pickles. I was about to say, do I not have fine liners up here? How do I not have fine liners up here? No, they got pushed all the way to the back. So I'm going to go with the smallest one I have that still works, which is a 0.3. Unfortunately, a lot of mine have died very quickly. Okay, so that is still working. We're just going to carefully outline the pickles. And that should hopefully give a little bit more to the cat here. And then comes down here, and then we just kind of start creating a fuzzy effect. That we're creating with those tiny dashes. Add those lines here for the leg. Then we're going to tiny dash it here. That's a lot of fur. Straight line there. And that should, oh, I forgot the eyes and nose. That might help. That kind of cleans up that eye a little bit. Yes, I realize I just gave Pickles winged eyeliner. It's fine. There we go. That is a very feminine cat now. It's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. Now, again, you can't see much of the background at all, so I might go in with a little bit of very light yellow and just kind of blend it out here, which may help. It may not. I don't know. But the other cats, it looks like, are still drying, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So I'm going to take this and go into that yellow. Just carefully pull out just enough and just kind of do this just in a few areas. Clean my brush and take the water and just really blend that out. I want that to be nice and light. I probably should have lightened it on my pan first, but it's fine. Everything is fine. May have added too much on this side, but we'll find out here relatively quickly. It doesn't look like I did, but I think I did over here. We just got to keep adding water until it lightens enough that we are happy with it. So yeah, my splatter painting didn't work out as well as I had hoped. There, that gave a nice light yellow background. I could go in with some white iridescent here. I'm going to do a little bit of white iridescent. And then I can make it kind of shiny. Just a little bit here and there. I could add the glitter, but I don't want to overdo it, if that makes sense. And I don't know which color the glitter was the first time, so I really don't want to create too much glitter on this piece. It's a reverse holographic, that's what it is. Or is it holographic? I don't remember. Reverse holographic is the whole card on the outside of the Pokemon. Holographic is the picture. So yeah, it's a holographic picture. It's a holographic card. Water. All right, the orange cat right up here is still very, very wet. This one I'm happy with, so I'm going to go ahead and sign it. I should not sign it with a brush this big. It will be absolutely huge. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my rigger brush. Probably the one I was just using, but I think this one is a different one because it is splayed. I'm going to wipe off some of that black. Then we're going to sign it. I apparently need to wet it a little bit more. because it is not very fluid. Need to get this a little bit more fluid, more flowy. There we go. All right, now that one's good to just... Oh, I forgot to... Ooh, I almost forgot something. Pickles need some eye shines and some whiskers. Right? Like, how dare I not give the cat whiskers and eye shines? Okay, so that is nice and thin. We're just going to dip at... Oh, well, okay. Doesn't have any more fluid down there. There we go. Now it's got some fluid down there, and we're going to mix it in. Okay. So we're going to do 2 whiskers up here. Nope, that wasn't enough white there. 2 whiskers up. Oh, come on. Give me some freaking white. There we go. Again, this is not the most ideal situation for the white, having to activate it and then immediately paint with it. Okay, and then over here, 2 whiskers. A couple of eye shines, which are not super white because once again, it's not active. Bottom of the brush isn't holding the paint is the problem. It's the upper parts of the brush, and I need the bottom part to hold it. Very tip. Yeah, this brush just does not hold enough paint. Like at all where I need it to hold. Right, and then 3 little whiskers out here, which are barely visible. There we go. 3 little whiskers over here. Extend that one out. There we go. Now Pickles is done. Now Pickles has his whiskers and some eye shines, and he looks great. Although it's a very feminine cat, so maybe it's not Pickles anymore. Also doesn't have the crinkle in the ear. Okay, so now I'm going to clean that off because I don't need the fine lines right now. Eva looks dry enough that we can start in on her eyes. So we're just going to, again, dip into this P.H. Martin's. And we're just going to very carefully whiten the eye. Right above where that highlight is. Now we got to wait for that white to dry before we can go in on anything else. Oreo finally looks dry enough that we can go ahead and do her eyes as well. And we should also be able to do the nose. There we go. Now let's go in with that nose. For the nose, we are going to need a rigger brush and that pale pink again. So we're just going to go into the water and come over to that pale pink. Just pick some of it up. Don't know if I picked any of it up. I hope I did. And then we're just going to go after that nose. Just right above here. I don't think I'm picking up enough pale pink because I can't see it at all. There we go. Now I can see it. There. And then, I didn't mean to wash on that one. And then because the tongue needs a little bit of definition, we're going to go in with this, I'm dipping all the wrong pieces. It's fine. I need to swap my waters is what I should do. I'm going to go in with a little bit of this dark pink and just give some definition to that tongue. A little bit of an outline. That way I don't have to touch it with the fine liner pen. That may be a bit too dark on the tongue, but that's okay. That is looking good. Make sure I wash on the correct side. So that the nose and the tongue are ready for fine liner. The outside of the body is ready for fine liner. I just have to finish the eyes and then it'll be good. And then Eva, I also have to finish the eyes. So I'm gonna let that dry for a hot minute. She already dry. She is already dry. So Eva has as much as I would have loved orange eyes on my black cat, has a yellow eye. So we're just gonna dip in this yellow. Hopefully. And then we're just going to kind of make almost like a teardrop shape here, where the eye goes all the way to the back of the head, and the round is on the front there. Now it does look like I need a little bit more PH Martins to define the eye, but I think that's because I might have gone a little too low. I went into where the shadow is. So that, well, I mean, it gives the shadow a little bit of a yellow look. So let's go ahead and go in with the white, just to give a little bit more, and we'll go in with some iridescence on all the highlight, just that way it all feels intentional. And I do feel like as I'm painting this, I feel like I am painting with liquid glitter because it's shining as I move it, just like in those Lizzie Linka videos. I think I finally did figure out a good process for this. There we go. Okay. And that gives her some shine, not just in the eye. I do want to give Pickles some more shine. Well, no, I shined the background. I'm not going to shine anything else because I don't want to overdo it. And then or Eva dries, we'll go ahead and do the eyeballs of Oreo. And Oreo, I do believe, is my blue baby. And it's a very light blue. So I'm going in with this silk blue that I made. And we're just going to make them nice and blue. The eye pupil is huge on these because it's basically a begging cat. So I'm not going to have a ton of blue showing at the end. But I do want to try and get as much blue as I possible and make these eyes nice and big. Now these are a bit on the wetter side just because I accidentally picked it up and I picked up a crap ton of water with it. But that's fine. Everything's fine. I got this. Okay. Now with Oreo, I can add some yellow or some white shine to her as well. Mainly where the white is and is highlighted. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of add a little bit of shine here on the sun side. Maybe add a little bit of lines here. Okay, there we go. That adds a little bit of shine, and then I could add some coffee shine. So let's go ahead and do that. Which coffee is right here. Just kind of mix this up. Hopefully it'll activate quickly. I did add glycerin to my custom paints, which is all these iridescence and glitters on the bottom. So hopefully this will activate pretty quickly. Yeah, it activated very nicely. Need a little bit more, kind of go in here and create all the nice fuzzy feels. Again, this is just to give a little bit of definition to the way the fur is moving on her. Okay, and then we're going to do a little bit down here where the spots are. That should be good. And I am going to fine line in the toenails, so don't worry about that. The next step, while we're waiting for these to dry, is to do the paint splatter on our Galaxy cat here, who looks dry enough to be able to do it. So to do a paint splatter, I've done it a million times, but I'm going to tell you how to do it again. You just dip in your white or whatever color you're trying to splatter with. Take your finger and just kind of flick it on there. If you need to and it's not working enough, you can dip more and then dip in the water, which will help it kind of be a little bit more looser, and it'll create a much more beautiful paint splatter here. I'm trying to paint splatter the tail, but the tail doesn't want to splatter. There we go. Now I got some of the tail. There. Okay. So it's paint splattered. We're going to let it dry, and then once it is fully dry, we're going over with a dark purple. And I think I'm going to use the iridescent. No, I don't want to use the iridescent dark purple. I will use an iridescent white to make the. I'll do the P.H. Martins in an iridescent white to make the stars on the final layer. I think that's what I'm going to do. So there's that. That one needs to fully dry before we go in with that dark purple. Otherwise, those stars will just blend and be everywhere and be a problem. This cat doesn't want to freaking dry. So I'm coming in and I'm stealing this water. Just going to kind of blend it a little bit here. There we go. Okay. Now that cat should dry sometime this century, so I can fine line it. Now Eva should be, nope, not quite dry enough, but getting there. I might be able to get away with doing the eye slit now because it's just this back side that's still wet. So let's go ahead and try. We're just going to try. We're not going to be upset if we can't do it. And then Eva is a slit eye. So we're just going to take some of that black and we're just going to make a little tiny slit eye. Which, of course, is not going to be flowy enough. So why would it be? There we go. Okay. There's the slit eye, and then for the eye shine on that one, it's actually in front, and it's kind of a rectangle, which I think looks really cool. And then we're going to come over here. This one, the blue on one eye is still very wet. I'm trying to cycle through these. Maybe I'll work on the background for Eva here. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take that same yellow that I did earlier, and we're going to wet it a lot. So I'm going to take some water, put it in this little pan here, take a little bit of yellow, and we're just going to kind of blend it in. And this is what I should have done with pickles, just to lighten it as much as possible. We're just going to kind of paint this around real loosely. And that should be good enough for the background. Now, I do have my heat gun with me, and I could start drying these a little faster with my heat gun. I don't wanna, if you get what I mean. All right, so with this one, I am going to do the whiskers black instead of white because they're facing away, and because there's not a lot of detail, and I don't want to put the whiskers on the back of the head, which is weird. So I'm going to go ahead and fine line this. I do 3 whiskers coming out. Gotta be careful not to run through that paint too much because it does mess with my liner pen, which is really weird because these liner pens are supposed to be specific for watercolor, but for some reason they don't like watercolor. Okay. I have tried doing the fine liner pen when it's fully dry, and it still gives me the same issue, and I don't understand it. Clean off that pen from that paint. Okay. And now again, I'm going to go in with that very, very light yellow. I need to make more of it. Just a little bit of yellow. And we're just going to paint that background ever so loosely. Just to give it a little bit more of a yellow feel to it. So yeah, that yellow that I painted yesterday was far, far, far too light. I needed to add more pigment to it. Quite a significant amount more pigment. Do a little bit down here, a little bit down there. There we go. So that gives that yellow background that I was trying to do. I don't know if that paint splatter is dry yet for the galaxy, but it does look like Oreo's eye is. So this one, because it's how big it is, I am going to go with my small round brush instead of the, no, eye is not fully dry. That's fine. I can just pull it up where it's at. Because it is going to be a slightly bigger pupil, but I do need a lot more water to keep it very fluid so I can have some control. So we're just going to kind of almost completely get rid of that blue. So we want a nice large pupil. This is the I'm going to demand snacks face. I need pets and I need snacks. That is what that cat is saying. So that looks good. Now I'm hoping, I should sign this real quick. Except for, no, that corner's not still wet. I was like, except for the corner may still be wet. No, it's not. Okay, so this should be nice and fluid enough. Kind of get that stray hair back into place. These rigger brushes are really bad. I don't like that they have completely frayed already. I rarely use them. I've been getting them out because I'm working on smaller detail stuff like these cards, but before I rarely got them out and they just started fraying in the packaging. Just not being used. It was really, really weird. There we go. That's another one done and for the record books. Now I probably should be removing the tape right about now instead of letting them dry with the tape on. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this one's tape, which essentially was already falling off anyway, so it doesn't make much of a difference. It's going to be super easy to remove if you will. Ah, got stuck. There we go. And there we go. There is the orange cat completed. ×2. I think that orange cat turned out much better than this back one. And probably because of the fact that I had references. Let's be honest. I don't know why I don't like using references that often. Every artist should use a reference. I just feel like I'm copying real life or copying someone else's photography or artwork or something like that if I use a reference. But at the same time, I'm changing it by painting it and making it feel a little bit more real, which, let's be honest, with commissions, especially with cats and pets and other things, I will be taking a photo and just essentially copying what's in the photo to make a nice version. But whatever. Okay. While I am waiting for drying, I shall get out some sleeves. 1, 2. I'll leave those sleeves out, actually, because I'm going to need them. And then I'm going to put these cards immediately in some sleeves. Oh, I did drip on this one. I thought I might have. Carefully lift that drop up. This is why I put it in sleeves, is so that way if anything drips on it, it doesn't ruin the card. Why can't I get this in the card? There we go. The sleeve does not want to play nice. So that one's nice and protected now. Now for this other one. Okay, there we go. 2 perfectly protected. Now the Galaxy one should be dry enough, and with the paint, I think what I have to do to give that nice dark color is a very light glaze. So I'm going to take this brush, the small round brush, and I'm going to add some water to my pan again. Lots and lots of water. But I don't want it to be too thin, because I do want to have that nice deep purple in there. So I'm picking up that darker purple, filling it in that water. adding more water and just kind of going back and forth between those two until I get a nice kind of glaze consistency. And we're going to go ahead and test it on the strip here. So that does give a nice deep purple. It's very transparent, which should be what we're looking for. Should be. I don't know for certain. And now we're going to go ahead and take that deep purple and we're just going to color over the cat completely, covering all those stars, all the pinks and blues and all of it, just to combine that color. And you'll notice the white dots do start to look a little bit darker and faded. That is okay. That is the point. It's supposed to make them feel further away. And then when we go to do the next layer of white, it will actually look a little bit closer instead of further away, if that makes sense. Now I may do another layer of splatter and dark purple just to deepen it a little bit more, because this is very, very light and you can still see the pink very well. It's not very dark feeling. I'm going to let that fully dry. And then we'll go in with another layer. I may have to go in with some gray instead of just dark purple. But we will see how it goes. I'm trying to layer it a little bit right now. But I'm trying to be careful also not to get rid of those stars. Okay. So that one, yeah, the galaxy is going to take the longest. So now Eva and Oreo should be fully dry. So Eva, again, we're going to outline it with the fine line and then go over with the whiskers because of the fact that whiskers would be over the lines anyway. I'm going to kind of pre-prep my whisker brush. Oh, this is my whisker brush. There's my fine liner. So we're just taking those lines that we made earlier and following them around. Perhaps make it a little messier just so that way they're a little bit more evident. Put some speckles on the chin cheek here. Put that fine line down that way and there. So with this one, I may not be able to sign in this corner unless I sign with a white. That'll be a challenge. All right, so then for Oreo, we're going to go ahead and fine line her as well. So we're going to take this little bit and come up here, down there. I'm going to leave the tongue unfine lined a bit. We're going to just kind of do some fuzzy strokes for the head. And then the ears, of course. Bring that up and down. Now this isn't my best work with Oreo, just because of the fact that she's so white in areas that I had to create a little bit of a difference in the picture. Now I could go in the background of these two and work on adding a little bit more to the background, which I may do yet. I haven't decided. Okay, actually Eva's is pretty good. I like the yellow there. I think I'm just going to go with yellow in this one's, in Oreo's background. So I'm just going to take some of that yellow because I still have a lot. And we're just going to kind of paint over it here. Trying not to paint too much of it, so that way I can still have that splatter effect going on. But it's not going to be perfect because of the fact that I'm doing it with a paintbrush. Gotta be careful not to touch that fine liner because that does bring black out. Okay, there we go. That looks good. Oh, I forgot to fine line the eyes. My bad. How can I do that without the eyes? There we go. And now we go in with the PH Martins on both Eva and Oreo. That's just what I'm calling them, even though the cats do not look the same at all. And we're going to give a little bit of a white highlight shine and some whiskers. So for the eye on this one, it's just a little rectangle, and then the whiskers are just simple little strokes, and then a small and a large. So we're going to do the large over here, and they're hard to see on the outside, but they are there. I promise they're there. So there we go. And then with this one, because it's mostly black, I'm going to go ahead and sign with the white. If I can get it to bring that paint down to the tip instead of holding it up in the body. There we go. Got the name. Now to do the paw print. It's not my art without a paw print. There we go. And then we're going to go ahead and untape this one. This is giving Oreo a little bit more time to dry. The bottom. Then the side. Now I still do have to stamp all these. The stamp is probably going to take up the entire freaking back, let's be honest. But once I stamp them, it's going to look so good. Can you pull out another? Let's just pull out all 3 sleeves. Okay. The purple looks dry enough on the Galaxy that before I sleeve Eva, I'm going to go ahead and and do another splatter real quick. So I'm just going to dip in that nice white, dip in the water. Then we're just going to splatter again. And like I said, I'm going to do another layer of that dark purple, possibly add some gray into it. And hopefully that'll give us that nice deep sky color. There's 3 cats. And I don't know if I'm going to post these cards yet. I may, just to get a little bit more opportunity and chance of actually selling one of the cards and feeling, you know, somewhat able to sell art. I haven't sold really a single art piece yet. I've sold bookmarks. I don't know if those count. And I've sold prints of the art, but not the original art, which is really, really sad. Okay, we still have about 30 minutes here before I end the stream. We have 2 more cards we're working on. I do have another piece that I'm currently working on. It's a horse in a meadow. I haven't signed it yet because it doesn't feel finished, but I can't think of what it is that's making it so it's not finished. I'm going to give these a few more seconds to dry while I respond to a text message. Oh, responding to people is a lot. Okay. Okay. Everything's all settled there. It looks like Oreo is dry enough. So let's go ahead and add the whiskers and the eye shines. Now with these being big eyes, while it didn't look that way in the painting, I am going to add quite a bit of eye shine. Because the more eye shine you add, the more pleating it looks. I'm just going to add little shines here, just like that. So hopefully I can recreate that on this side without having issues. Do it again. Decent one there, decent one there. Little tinies. There we go. That looks super cute. Now we're just going to add the whiskers. Dip again. Add more whiskers. And dip again. Again, these are rigger brushes, so you do have to dip relatively a lot. Okay, there. And the 2 whiskers on top. Add a little bit more whiskers on this one because they just aren't showing through very well. So there is Oreo done. So now I got to do my signy sign thing. Add some more paint to the black. Or more water, I should say. Dip it so it's nice and fluid. Drip off that giant drip. And then sign. My signature looks horrible. Does not look like my signature at all. Okay. So now we're just down to the Galaxy Cat, which is the one that's going to take the longest still. Then untape this one. Again, the tape is just peeling off. I think it's because it's old tape. I'm hoping it's because it's old tape. We're going to wait for that signature to dry before I go ahead and put it into a sleeve. It shouldn't take long because of the fact that that was a small amount of paint. But it also was wettish. So, all right, now we're going to go in and do that second layer of the Galaxy. So I'm going to pull some more purple in here. And this time, I think I'm going to actually add some gray to it, just to kind of darken it a little bit more. And then let's see where that looks like right now. It does look a little muted. I think I'm going to add a touch more purple. I do need to get it nice and wet here. That way I don't have too thick a layer, because the lighter the value, the more it layers better from what I can tell. There we go. That's a little better. No, it's not better. I'm going to add teeny more gray. I may have to add a little yellow just to mute it. There we go. That's a little better. That looks a little darker. I do want to make it a touch darker, so I'm going to add a touch of yellow to kind of mute out that purple just a touch. That may be too much that I just did, but let's see. Yeah, I made it way too... Yeah, that... No. That ruined it. And let's try that one. See, now that one's too thick, but the right color. So now I gotta add some water. There's no water in that cup. So there we go. That's a lot better. I think that's a color I like. So I'm going to go ahead and take that color and we're going to spread it all over the cat again. Again, we are trying to keep it thin so that way it can be nice and dark. And doing this technique does give a little bit more of a dark sky feeling. So I'm going to add a little bit more water because it's overtaking everything. Trying to keep that layer nice and light so you can still see the layers underneath, which I am failing at, but I'm trying. There we go. You can still see a little bit of the definition. The stars got totally lost, but you can see a little bit like that pink here, a little blue there. It's not super obvious though, which is okay. It gives it... I guess it gives it a little bit more of a night sky feeling, kinda. Also gonna do this and just get a little bit more of that ear, because that ear is really small. There we go. I want to bring that up here just a touch, because again, I want to see those layers underneath. Lifting doesn't work as well after glazing, just because of the fact that you're pulling up all the color, not just the color on the top layer. So we're going to let that dry. Once it's dry, we'll do the splatter, which will be the final step. Well, the final step of painting. Then we'll fine line it, and then I'll sign it, and then it should be done. Which, granted, we're at about 2:40 right now, so we've got about 20 minutes left. So we will be pretty freaking close to having done so much. Having done 5 cards in about 2 hours. So these cards aren't bad making time-wise. I had it right the first time. They aren't bad making time-wise, but they are time-consuming, and I'm posting them for fairly cheap so that way I can get some reviews. So if you do buy from me on the eBay page, please, please, please leave a good review, or any review. If it sucks, tell me in the review. I'd prefer if you tell me personally, but you can tell me in the review. Just that way I can get a better idea of what I need to do, how I need it to look, what will sell, what won't sell, and other people will buy from me instead of seeing that I've made no sales and no reviews and all that good stuff. Water. Not water. That was coffee. I don't know why. I'll drink some water. You know what? Why not? I'll drink some water. That's some warm water. Okay, so since I don't need these because I'm not making any extra cards today, I'm just going to stick them down here in my watercolor section. Take these extra scrap pieces, put them in my watercolor section, just so I can kind of clean my desk a little bit. My desk is very messy. What else is there? The water I can't take care of yet. Those I have to take downstairs. So I should remember to take these downstairs. These need to go downstairs. I did bring up my sketchbook. I thought I would have more time, but I didn't. So there's that. I don't know if I'm going to stream tomorrow. Probably not, because I do have the farmer's market tomorrow, which I really, really should go to. I didn't go the last 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago because I felt sick and I didn't really want to do it. And I was sore from Zumba. Last week, same thing. Well, last week was more because I didn't sleep. I was so stressed by my kids that I went out drinking. Then I was up over half the night because I didn't take my sleep aid, because you're not supposed to take the sleep aid when you're drinking. So I didn't get good sleep, so I didn't go. I just died on the couch, basically. So tomorrow I really, really, really have to go. Hopefully I can get some advertisement on my end for the farmer's market. She's advertising a lot of the vendors, but I have a feeling I'll be skipped, because that's how she keeps doing it. When I'm there, she just skips my entire area. And then I watched a video where she did a live and she looked directly at the area I was at. But the first time she did a live, she didn't look at my area at all. So I'm a little peeved about that. Okay, so I'm getting up some of this PH Martin's. It should be dry enough that it should be fine. Just get a nice coating and then dip it in some water. And we're going to splatter it. Yep, and that should be good. I might do some bigger stars, but I don't know if I will. I think I will. Just some dots here and there. Hopefully not too wet of dots. We're going to do Orion's belt on the tail, because why not? There, that gave a little bit more kind of options in that sky. And now we're also going to go, oops, not on the plastic. Now we're also going to go in with that iridescent white, and we're going to do some stars with that. Make sure it's nice and fluid, which it looks like it is. I shouldn't have to dip into the water again, because this is very fluid. Yeah, I didn't have to. And we just kind of spray on some of that iridescence, which is going to add some iridescence to the background, but that's fine. There we go. So nice layering of stars to cat. Now we're going to wait for that to dry, and then I can sign it, and then we should be all done. I appreciate everyone who came out tonight and hung out with me. It's been a lot of fun. It's always nice streaming for you guys, even if Twitch is broken and I can't see anything at all. Yeah, it sucks. But I am glad you guys have been around to hang out and be friends with me. I am so glad you guys are always here for me, and it has been a lot of fun. I hope I can convince you guys to buy some of my paintings instead of just watching me make them. That would be nice, just because I'm trying to make back what I spent to make these. So hopefully you guys appreciate and, you're like, yeah, I'll help you pay for more materials. I'm trying everything in my power to actually make some sales. I won't lie. I'm not trying to say I'm only focused on the sale and the money. I just got a lot of debt I gotta pay back. And honestly, half the stuff that doesn't work I regret buying. And I kind of wish that I hadn't bought. So that way I didn't incur such a high sale. Or high debt, I should say. Alright, so I signed before lining. That was a big mistake, but we're gonna go ahead and line around it. Line here, up here. And again, I'm going to be using the black to make the whiskers on this cat. Just because I find that easier with these kind of cats. And there we go. There is 5 lovely little cats, collectible cards completed. Put everything away. The only thing I can't put away is my custom palette because it has to dry. Because of the fact I add glycerin and honey, on these bottom ones that I made, they stay wet almost for freaking ever. And then these ones I accidentally squirted too much because I didn't have my squirt bottle, so those are going to take forever to dry. I will try to remember to bring my squirt bottle up next time. I'm going to take my tub's downstairs. So I was going to take my tub downstairs and then put it in the tub immediately. I also need to put the stamps in the tub so that way I can start stamping these cards. But yeah, it has been a lot of fun. I enjoy it. You guys are amazing hanging out and stopping by as always. I am glad you guys are enjoying the art streams. And I'm glad to share my creativity with you. You guys are amazing. I will be back Friday at the very least. Because Friday I don't have anything to do aside from stream and go to the gym after work. So yeah, I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. And I will see you guys Friday.